So I have these two voices that often speak to me inside of me. One has been with me my whole life. It is the one I'm most comfortable with. And it sounds a lot like a petulant teenager. It really wants to watch Real Housewives and eat Cheetos. Like it's been, it doesn't really want to go out, live life much. Doesn't really enjoy being beyond its comfort zone in any sort of way. And it keeps me nice and safe and in my own little bubble in my box, right? And then there's this other voice that I am a lot less familiar with. It's a newer voice. I don't know that it's a newer voice. It's one that I couldn't hear because my petulant teenager voice was playing loud rock music and really trying to drown it out. But this voice is the voice that says there's something good. Just listen. This is the voice that says go beyond your comfort zone. This is the voice that says don't be afraid, fearlessly write your funeral and your eulogy because there's something beautiful to know and to experience on the other side. So often, or every time, if I'm being really honest, that I am asked to speak at GTC, the teenager thinks, how do I get out of this? Now, I say yes at first. I've learned to say yes at first. And then the teenager's just like, maybe I'll get sick. If I got a fever Saturday night, who's going to blame me? Nobody wants to be around somebody with a fever. Maybe I can just get a fever. And then the other voice that is getting stronger and stronger is like, oh, that's cute. Let's keep going. Let's see what's on the other side of that. So this time was no exception. I was like, oh, how can I get out of this? Saturday night, I wasn't sure what I wanted to talk about. How do I get out of this? And I went and got a massage, and I hung out with my sister, and we were at the mall all day, and she's like, I really like the you that's avoiding writing a talk. This is really great because we got massages, we had dinner at Cheesecake Factory, we shopped. My husband was like, what were you doing at the mall for 5 hours? And my sister was like, she was avoiding GTC. And then, as if the universe that always says yes to my wanting to figure out how to get out of this, I was leaning over to feed my dogs and I felt a loud pop in my back. And I was like, I threw out my back. I don't have to go. This is great. I'll just call Thor and tell him that I threw out who could blame me? I threw out my back, right? And then the other voice comes in and reminds me that on the other side of doing the things that scare me is where the sweet stuff is. It's where the good stuff is. And if I listen to that voice that's been with me for so long, I don't push myself outside of my comfort zone, but I also have missed out on so much life and so much opportunities because I was listening to the wrong voice. And when I made that decision that I might be uncomfortable sitting in the chair, but I was getting my tushy in that seat, suddenly everything came into focus. I'm like, oh, that's what we're talking about here. That's what I'm coming to understand. And then knowing that Jill was going to be, our lead inspiration and understanding, I'm getting to experience practitioner in a whole new way. I'm getting to experience the first time when I was taking practitioner, I was learning that voice existed. I was still learning. It was still quiet, right? And now I'm teaching it with a fully honed voice. Now, the other one still talks. I don't know that other voice will ever go away. I'd really love for it to get gone. But Brad, I didn't say a bad word. Brad's watching me, and he has demerit slips, so I will be on my best behavior today. But I was remembering when I was in practitioner, actually my second year of practitioner, my first year of ministerial, I was working in Woodland Hills, and I live in Thousand Oaks, and I was at the office, and a plane crashed on the 101. And my daughter had a karate belt test that evening, and the 101 was completely closed. My way of getting home was completely closed. And I was going to get to that kid's belt test if it killed me. And so I was like, no problem. I'm a powerful manifester. I was starting to learn that I could control conditions with my mind. And so I was just going, I left work 3 hours early. I was not going to stress because I had also learned how to relax and breathe. And I was just going, if it took me, 2 hours to get home, it would take me 2 hours to get home. I was getting to that belt test. So I left the office and I figured I'll just take the 118. And I started heading down Topanga Canyon towards the 118. And after about an hour, I had gone exactly 2 blocks. But it's okay because I can control conditions with my mind and I create my reality. And I cranked up the music and I was rocking out to the music. And then I heard a semi-truck, had turned over on the 118 freeway where I was headed. And now the 118 freeway was down to 1 lane. And so both my methods of getting home were problematic. But I'm a practitioner and I have a powerful mind. And I am getting to that belt test because I'm not going to be responsible, because if I don't get to that belt test, my daughter's going to end up in therapy thinking that her mother was never there. She's going to end up drug addicted in the streets somewhere because her mother was not showing up for the big life events. She was 4. So I crank up the radio and I'm listening to the radio and I'm rocking out and I can feel myself starting to tense. I can feel the rage start, and people are not nice when everybody's trying to get to the 118 and you can't move and you've only gone 2 blocks in an hour and a half. And I can feel the belt test starting to slip away and I'm getting aggravated and I'm getting angry and I hear a voice inside, that voice that I was not accustomed to yet, that said, you don't have to experience this if you don't want to. And I thought, shut up, voice. I am getting to that. I'm getting to that belt test. And what I thought that the voice was saying to me was, you are free to choose your experience. You can enjoy this experience if you want. You can't change the circumstance, but you can change your attitude. And I thought the voice should kick rocks. So I just turned the radio up louder. And I continued to seethe, and I was mad. Now, by this time, I'm mad. I'm 2.5 hours in. I'm clearly missing the belt test. I'm not getting there anytime soon. I've literally gone maybe 4 blocks in the 2 hours that I've been sitting on Topanga Canyon. And and the teenagers get mad, and it's welling up. And then I heard the voice again. You don't have to experience this if you don't want to. And I was like, I know, but I'm not I just didn't want to hear it, right? I just didn't want to hear it. And then I had to pee. And I'm stuck on Topanga and there's nowhere to go and I got to go potty and I don't know what to do. And now I'm mad and I'm frustrated and I'm stuck and I got to go potty. And I hear the voice again. And it says, you don't have to experience this if you don't want to. And this time I think I listened because I thought it was my bladder speaking. And I listened to my bladder. And I thought, okay, what do I do? Well, my parents lived a couple of miles from where I was. They lived in Woodland Hills at the time. And I thought, all right, I guess I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go have dinner with my parents. And then hopefully this will clear up. And I called my husband and told him I wasn't going to be able to make it and he should apologize profusely to my daughter. And if she becomes a stripper, I'm sorry that I didn't make it to the belt test. But it was what it was. And so I turned around. I was at my parents' house in 5 minutes. They were so happy to see me. And I got to have dinner, an amazing dinner with my parents. What I didn't know is that my dad would pass away shortly after that. And so I pivoted, right? I showed up and I was present and I had dinner with my parents, and it was at a time in my life when my kids were small. I was building a business. I was very, very busy. I was not making as much time to spend time with my parents as I probably should have been. But I had that dinner. And when it was time to go home, all of the lines, I was, checking Google Maps and everything was still red. And I thought, and it still said it was going to take 2 hours to get home. And I thought, well, I just am gonna, it'll be what it'll be. I'll crank up my music, I'll enjoy it, whatever. And I thought, I'll just take the canyon, at least it'll be beautiful. Turns out nobody knew the canyon. I was home in 20 minutes. What I learned from that experience is that we have choice. When we talk about what do we teach and what do we know and what do we understand about the universe, there's always this question of destiny versus free will. Is it all planned out? Does life unfold perfectly in this, you know, the way it was supposed to be? Or do I get to make choices? And am I determining my life at any given moment? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. We live in a quantum field of entanglement where everything is possible and all potentialities exist. And I'm entangled with Craig, and he's entangled with me, and I'm entangled with my daughter and my father, who is no longer on this earthly plane, but his energy is here, and it's all interconnected and unfolding perfectly. It's all evolving. I am evolving. The universe is evolving. You are growing and evolving. And my choice comes into play when I get to decide if I want to fight against it and I want to be in the car and mad and have to pee, or do I want to work with it and lean in and pivot? Life is going to happen. I think we think so often in this teaching that if I get it right, if I really learn how to use my mind and control the conditions with my life of my life with my mind, that bad stuff will never happen. That we won't get sick, that people won't die, that we won't have to experience what we deem to be bad. And we go so far as that when those things do happen, we think, how did I cause that? How did I create that? What could I or should I have been thinking differently in order to have a different experience? And the truth is, we're meant to experience all of it. All of it. I am softer and more loving and a better person in this world because I've experienced grief. And I would really like to have not had to have that experience to get there. But that's the point. That's the point. That's what we're all doing here is we are living and we're experiencing, and it's messy and it's chaotic and things happen. And I get to decide whether I'm going to fight against it and brace myself for impact, or if I'm going to lean in and allow it. I get to decide. I could have chosen to stay on Topanga. I am very willful. Well, wasn't expecting that response. I am stubborn. I many times in my life have chosen to stay the course, even as everything around me was telling me that it was time for a pivot. And I'm free to do that. And what I got was I was hardened. I put a barrier between me and other people. I was afraid to let people in. I let fear rule my life. The teenager kept me on the couch. But when I lean in and I allow and I make choices that go along with it, then I grow and I understand oneness and I understand connection and I have gratitude for all of it. So when the song says, thank you, terror, thank you, disillusionment, when we can say thank you to all of it, then we understand life. Then we understand this teaching. When we can lean in and allow and understand that we are better for all of it, that we are stronger. I think my insecurity in those early days, it made me a seeker. I think motherhood, it made me softer. I think grief for making me more loving. I think fear for making me braver. I think frustration because it showed me what I was made of and that I could persevere. At the end, every person's journey is different, right? This is my journey. My aha came on Topanga Canyon, right? And the details for me, the grief was a loss of a father. For Dr. James, loss of a daughter. For each of you, it may be a health thing or whatever. The point is that we have to stop trying to push those things away and thinking that if I push it away or if I say the right thing or do the right thing, that it's not going to enter into a realm of consciousness. The point is to just allow because it passes. They say when you're drowning, most people drown because they're fighting, they're struggling, and they're trying to get back up to the top of the water. And what you're really supposed to do is surrender and allow, and then eventually you will pop back up to the surface. I think the point is to stop struggling and to just allow, because it's never as bad when we walk through it as we think that it's going to be. All of the things that I've built up in my mind, all of the things that we create where we think it's going to be this, and it's never that. What's that saying? The biggest bridges I crossed ran over waters that didn't even exist. So much of it is happening in our mind. Life is gonna life, but we get to choose how we experience it. We get to be grateful. We can get to, we were talking about death in our class, and it was like, it's the most natural. Like, all we want as human beings is certainty. All we seek is certainty. We're like, we don't, fear, maybe not everyone. Some people are risk takers, but a lot of us, we just want certainty. We're so afraid of the unknown. Well, guess what? Death is like a big old certainty. Like, here's the universe. Like, well, I'll give you one. I'll give you one certainty, death. And no, I don't like that certainty. Not that one. I don't like that one. I don't want that certainty. But when we lean in and we stop letting the boogeymen run our lives, the unknowns, the fears, and whatever, and we're willing to just lean in love, on the other side of it is the understanding. So the title of my talk at the end of it is, what's the point? The point is to allow. It's to love. When we can say, thank you for all of it, then I think we finally get the point. Namaste.